Okay, we're live. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another video. I'm Nathan Hall. You're seeing us on the Mindset Ministry of Mindset channel. Today, we're featuring again the Knowledge and Power podcast crew. Nathan, Ray, and Jake. We're trying to get Jake on. Hopefully, we can get him pulled in here real quick. But I want to thank you for joining us again. For those of you who have not seen us before, basically, we're just three guys who love talking about life, family, sports, music, God, the whole 9 yards. We love it all. And we get on this forum and we discuss the topics that are near and dear to our hearts and that are important to us, that we think are important to you. The comments are open. If you want to join at any time and leave a comment, let us hear what you have to say. Please do so. I have with me right now my man Ray. If you want to give him a holla.
Hey.
How's it going, bro?
It's going good, man. It's going real good. It's been a long, fulfilled day.
Has it?
Yeah.
It's been a how was Thanksgiving?
Man, dude, I had grits and biscuits for Thanksgiving. How about that?
What?
Yeah, I had a unexpected fracture in my tooth.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah.
You couldn't get down. You had to eat soft foods.
Soft food, bro.
Man.
Soft food.
The elderly status.
Yeah.
Somebody come mash up your beans for you and
exactly.
Oh wow.
That's okay. I hadn't had any grits in a while, so it was pretty good.
So how's the tooth?
I'm still waiting to get it serviced. I have to
Okay.
go see a specialist, so the medication is working. I'll say that now.
Medication is working.
Yeah.
So you be able to eat.
Yeah, I can talk because I wasn't even able to talk pretty much the last week. So,
okay.
Yeah, I've been running my mouth all day today, so I'm good.
Okay, let me ask you this question real quick, Ray.
Yeah.
You've been on this Christian journey for a while.
For a minute.
Yeah. Now, we got together and we said, let's do a podcast. Let's get together and just talk. And so some of the first conversations we had were about just fatherhood, fatherhood in general. And that seemed to get quite a response. I mean, what do you see this venue and see the potential that it has? What is it that you feel like you can really demonstrate through this podcast, whether it be video, audio, whatever?
Well, number one, I think that our lifestyle should be what it is wherever you go.
Okay.
So saying that to say, we're not necessarily trying to do like a biblical teach or whatever, but both of us have been walking with God for a minute. So it's kind of hard for us to sit down and talk for any length of time without tying the word into what we're talking about. But nevertheless, I would like for people to just kind of hear our conversations and just see how we work ourselves out of a lot of different situations by just kind of bouncing off of one another as bros, and how we always kind of go to the word to kind of reference where we're trying to go, where we're headed to improve our situation that we're facing. So I just want people to be able to sit back and listen to how we talk.
Right.
How it's really no holds bar, and we keep it real and raw.
That's 100. That's 100.
That's 100. And and hopefully at the end there's a resolve by somebody will feel accomplished. Somebody will be able to feel like there's hope in whatever situation that they face.
Okay. Yeah. I feel similar. I think that some of the stuff that we talk about just really speaks to common individuals. Everybody that lives a life deals with some of the stuff that we talk about at some point, and especially coming from a man's perspective, we can really hit some of those points as dads, as fathers, men of the cloth. I don't know if we officially men of the cloth or not. You might be the only one, but so I like the idea of being able to have these topics go out. So I think tonight's topic is a pretty strong one. But before we get started, I think people know enough about me. Why don't we talk about you a little bit? Tell me a little bit about your background and what brought you to want to do this.
Well, I like to run my mouth. Simple as that, man. Not
That's
just
pretty
to talk,
true.
not not just to talk,
Hmm.
but for it to actually. Because I mean, if we can just kind of take a snapshot back to the fact of when we first met each other, maybe back in college, back at Central Michigan,
Right.
man, we would get lost in hours of conversation when we should have been studying, should have been doing a paper or something like that. But we will
Hmm.
always like find ourselves just sitting and just chapping it up about what somebody's going through,
Right.
and that's how I think our relationship, our friendship, began to build
Hmm.
during that time. And because let's just face it, as a man, which we're going to talk about tonight, men don't really trust men. Simple as that.
Not with the deep stuff.
Not with the deep stuff, man,
We
because
get
they're
we get
always
we get surface. That's about as much as we can go.
that's about as close as I'm gonna let you into me.
Hmm.
But we
Especially
know
if I
that
don't know you like that.
exactly, exactly. But our role was really different. How we met. Uh, you were the believer in the group that we ran with, as well as a couple of other guys as well too.
Hmm.
I was a guy who acknowledged that there was a God, but I wasn't ready to serve him yet.
Right.
Well, because shoot, I was in college, man, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted what I thought was all the benefits coming to me that college would offer.
Hmm.
So, and I always say, man, I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me because y'all could have easily walked away and realized that this brother doesn't even want
Right.
to do right. So, yeah, man. So as we got to know each other. We tried to pledge together, and I think that so we saw every facet, every angle of our brotherhood. So that's what took us to the point where we could actually share a little bit more, go a little bit
Right.
more in deep.
Right.
So, yeah, my father of three. Um, so I am recently divorced, a couple of years. Um,
Oh.
yep. So, and I think I want to say that because a lot of people feel like life is over when there's something so traumatic as that.
Excuse me.
And though it's not great, and no, I did not. It was very difficult. But the same token, sometimes people need to see what life looks like in God after divorce, man. And this is what it looks like. Now I'm still serving Him. Never have I considered um, jumping off this path of living of serving God.
Right.
Yeah, I mean I'm in it, man, until He cracks the sky and comes back for me. Simple as that. Simple as that. And He is still restoring and building up and piecing me back together.
That's the nature of God, man. I was going to say, long suffering
Yeah,
is one of His greatest attributes, and
yeah,
I think that's what you experienced, at Central when you were trying to find your way.
exactly.
He didn't abandon, and your friends didn't abandon. We all exhibited that trait, long suffering.
Yeah,
It's a journey, man. It's a journey. Just kind of what we talk about in this podcast. Everything's a journey. You learn along the way. You get better. You get brighter. You get wiser. So we do what we can.
yeah.
But okay, so we got a hot topic on deck. I'm eager to get into it. This is something that came on to cross your mind, your heart, was who taught you to be a man? Who taught you how to be a man? And we discussed this at a little bit in our private messenger group, and we had some good stuff that was going on. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of talk about this subject to a greater audience.
Yeah.
So, how do you want to approach it? You want to kick it off with what your initial thoughts were, and what brought you to thinking about this topic at all?
Well, interesting. You know me. Y'all would always say before the term "in your feelings" came about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's what you guys would always pretty much say back in college, that I would be I'll be in my feelings. Basically, I'll paraphrase it that way. So I was just rolling through the city in my feelings, thinking one day when I went on a tangent and I started texting you guys about how we really don't open up. No one really knows us because we're afraid to share. We're afraid to expose those softer areas of our life, and how I think that's the thing that is actually being the cancer to us as men as far as growth.
Yeah.
And a lot of men think that, and this is the mistake we make. We make the mistake of thinking you're a man by how much money you have in the bank. Of course, that's great. That's great to have. But for every man, that's not the case.
Right.
So just different things that sent me on a rant, man, that just made me think about, okay, who do I have in my corner that I can say when I begin to reflect that actually influenced me as far as being a man? Because we can't always assume that it was, our fathers, because a lot of us weren't raised with our fathers, or we were raised with our fathers. There's some type of issue that occurred where they were present in the house, but they weren't present there emotionally. So so that's what began to make me wonder, who did I have that taught me how to be a man? And even still, at 50 years old, man, I still think that it's important to have someone in my corner now that can I can bounce things off of.
Right.
Because we don't nail it every time. We don't nail it as husbands, as investors, as fathers. We need somebody that's a little bit more seasoned in an area to help us become stronger, become more knowledgeable, so we can walk out what we need to walk out.
Well, I know that, during that conversation we had, it got me to thinking about, as a young man coming up, I was raised by my mom pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
She had been divorced early when I was like 2. And then the next guy that came along, I think I was around 8 or 9. They got married, but I don't remember him being a great role model and father figure. So there were other individuals that kind of filled that space. My pastor, uncle, a couple uncles, but I don't think I took the time needed necessary to try to draw anything from them and learn anything from them.
Yeah.
And so by the time I became of age, first time I became a dad and then a husband, I'm like scrambling, trying to get, what do I do? What do I do? How do I do this? Draw examples from my memory and from my experience. And I didn't have very much to draw from. So I remember a lot of it was learning on the fly.
Learning on the fly.
Yep. One of the things.
Got an example of that?
Just one of the things about being a man is, if you want to provide a definition, here's one aspect, is that a man considers, especially a man who has family, a man considers his family before himself. He's not going to put his needs above the needs of his children or the needs of his wife.
Exactly. And
in those early years, I was completely selfish. I recognize I had, a wife and child to take care of, but my mindset a lot of times is me first. How is this going to benefit me? What do I want from this situation? How am I going to spend this money? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And so I think we got Jake here. Let me see. But so I had to answer your question. Who taught me? It was a combination of examples of once I got my head together and started to look at other men and try to draw an example from them and how I should act with my own family, my own children. Let's get Brother Man in here. There he goes.
Jay. What's up, Jeremy?
What's going on, man?
What's up, fellas? I made it.
Glad you finally made it in here, bro.
Yeah.
We are sitting here talking about the subject, man. Who taught you how to be a man?
Right.
And, we discussed this in our group, and I was just sharing how I really didn't have the examples when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be transparent, especially being married. I remember, and this is a new point, Ray. I remember, let's call it 2005 or 6. Okay. And we were staying with my sister-in-law, and it was all the kids. Carolyn was little, so maybe 2004, 2005, and I remember talking to my wife at one point saying, I don't know how we even made it this far as a married couple, because the only thing I've learned from the men in my life that were, married to my mother was how to cheat and how to run off. That's the only thing I learned. I didn't learn how to stay together. I didn't learn how to raise a family. I didn't learn how to take and pour into a son. I didn't learn any of that. And so it was really after that point, I started looking at brothers in the church that I respected. And we had started going to a new church. And I really respected the older fellas. I mean, I looked up to them like heroes, because they were doing everything that I envisioned a good man should do, a good husband should do, a good father should do. And so I started watching these guys and just, trying to get close to them, pick their brains, and just follow their model. And what interesting I found was, here's another aspect to definition. Real men are vulnerable.
Yeah.
Allow themselves to be vulnerable.
Definitely.
I learned through just watching these guys that sometimes they weren't very strong. Sometimes they didn't have the answers that they needed and required it for a situation they were facing. So they had to go to God, or they had to go to somebody else that had more wisdom than them. And they weren't like the Incredible Hulks, just so strong and so tough and nothing could ever touch them and give them any pain. These guys experience real pain every day.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn that. I learned, and it made me appreciate, that I wasn't always doing everything so wrong like I thought I was. I actually learned a few things from seeing these guys trip and fall, but it was how they got back up that really inspired me.
Wow. That's good, Nate. That's good. Because again, a lot of men, they share with you a window of who they are from afar.
Right.
Meaning that, like we said earlier, you only gonna get so close in, and they pad their world to look like it's going so good. I'm making that great money at my job, almost $100,000. Everybody not making $100,000. Everybody not making 60 grand. But again, it's because the man's supposed to be the provider.
Right.
Let me just throw out a number there. And if you're not making something remotely close to that, or have the booming job, they're kind of looking at you like you haven't arrived. So, like you said, the vulnerability, it is important, because there's a lot of guys out here that are hurting, is feeling like, it hasn't happened for me yet. And I'm in my 40s, I'm in my 50s, or I'm in my 30s, and it hasn't happened for me yet. I'm still struggling, trying to find my niche, trying to find my way.
Right.
And, men could easily, put on a show and put on an act for other guys when they're dying on the inside.
Exactly.
To want the truth of how can I be like you. And there were times when, and y'all know me, fellas. My statement is, I'm gonna tell my issues before you tell it, because if somebody else tells my junk, you're gonna embellish it. You're gonna lie.
Right.
So I don't have a problem being transparent. I remember reaching for people. There were times in my manhood where I was sinking, and I wasn't, I didn't have the answers, and I didn't get the proper response from guys who thought that I should have had the answer by now. And that's the worst thing you can do, is turn somebody away when they're reaching, saying, "Hey, help me."
Right.
Help me. I'm coming to you, obviously, because I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There are a lot of men now. I mean, well, it's been throughout history that are grown physically, but mentally still boys. And that's true. You see that in the prisons, and you see it in the neighborhoods, right? Really in your communities. I mean, because somehow in our ethnicity and community, manhood was distorted. And if the father wasn't there, or if he was there, and if other men were stepping up or in the place, maybe they weren't the best example. My wife and I were talking just a few minutes ago about how our boys, how our generation wanted our kids to have it so much better than we had it.
Yeah.
So we went easier on them.
Yeah.
And they don't have the get up and go and the fortitude that we had, even that we had, to get out and do and move and take your responsibilities. But then our fathers and the fathers before us, they had that work ethic, if nothing else.
Nothing else, man.
So did.
Yeah. So each generation, you can see where we lack and where we fell off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think with us, we started to input the love and the emotional part of it, the affection, but the heart, the drive, the force that our fathers had, we kind of backed up off of that. And I guess it's both needed. It's all needed.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jake.
Oh, I was going to say, it may be different with girls, but with our boys, we definitely still have to have that drive for them to know that, okay, I can't just lay up on other women or other people, or, once I become an adult, I got to get up and do.
Exactly.
And have my own.
That's real talk.
Yeah, you see that a lot now. Our young boys, they don't want to have their own without somebody else to experience it,
Yeah. I think that falls into the categories of insecurities on the part of that young man who just can't seem to do it by himself. He's got to have somebody with him, or like you said, Jake, a young lady companion to draw in and sharing this experience, rather than just finding his way, becoming a man, and preparing himself for whatever might come after that.
And then bring her in.
I gotta say, I was guilty of that.
Yeah,
I was guilty of that. In my previous example, I had been married, man. Yeah, almost 10 or 11 years at that point, before I really started to say, I got nothing from my youth. I'm doing this all on my own, making it up as I go along, and getting terrible results.
Okay.
Terrible results.
Yeah.
Guess I'll say Ray?
Yeah. I was going to say, if you're done, are you done?
Oh yeah, I'm done.
Okay. I was just going to say, there's an activity, man. One of the things that I loved when I worked in the community more with young people. I thank God for giving me the opportunity to be responsible for pouring into young people's lives for almost like 17 years of my professional career before I made the change to what I'm doing now.
It's a blessing.
And I remember there was an activity that I would have them do called Act Like a Man box.
Okay.
And what I would have them do is I would have them come to the board, and I would ask them to write inside of this box all the things that you've heard that makes a man a man. I was like, no penalty. You want to use profanity? Okay, we're gonna go there today. And I would see things like lie till you die, make more money than her, get as many women as you can before you settle down.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, and drive a nice car.
Yeah.
I may just be some stuff. Don't be no punk. What does that mean? Because I would have them explain what they meant by what they wrote in the box.
Oh yeah.
And I would have all these things written down, from the group that I'm working with, and then we would step back and we would look at it, would examine. And on one side of the box, I would have the physical effects, and then the emotional effects, and of what would happen to you if you try to live out everything that you wrote in this box.
Wow.
To get them to understand that being a man does not mean you get and you score and you sleep with as many women as you can sexually. Because if you do that physically, and we go outside the box, physically, what are some of the things that could possibly happen? I get a baby, I get an STD, I get emotionally burned or whatever. And then you'd always get some kind of Einstein and be like, ain't nobody gonna emotionally damage me.
Right.
I emotionally damage her. Because again, that's that thing that we're taught, that you don't let a woman see your weak side, see your vulnerable side. Yeah. So, and here it is, it's playing out with these young teenagers, because they would be between the ages of 14 to 18 years old that I would work with. And you hear them responding back, trying to rebuttal or trying to push back on what we're now examining, that the whole room is agreeing with, that, wow, if I try to make more money than her, because that's what I think makes me a man, then, physically that might mean that I'm drained, because I may have to work 2 jobs, because she might be a doctor and I'm not a doctor. So, and that's just, and those kind of exercises are important with our young guys, and that conversation needs to continue even still as adults, because we have this warped mentality, man, and I think that we're just creating unnecessary havoc and on ourselves emotionally. We're draining ourselves, man. We're beating our bodies down because we're trying to keep up, and it doesn't take all of that to keep up. We really need to find out who we are by going to the Word.
There it is.
Yeah, that's it.
There it is. There it is.
That is so true.
Yeah,
that's so true, man.
So you brought up, going to the Word to kind of identify where you are as a man. Where do you start? The Bible is humongous. Where are the man scriptures at?
Well, there's I'm kind of. You at a party, Jake?
Here's the noise. I had to.
Yeah. You got your headphones in?
I do. I had to plug charger in.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we don't want to lose them. Yeah, so.
Right.
Yeah, but I was going to say, where are the man scriptures if somebody wanted to jump right in and start learning today how to be a man from the Bible? Where's a good place to start?
Proverbs.
Okay, you're talking about wisdom.
Ephesians.
And because the bottom line is we have to have a healthy fear of God.
Yeah. In
order for us to actually get the wisdom that God is actually offering to us.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have a healthy fear of God, because there's 2 kinds of fears. There's a healthy fear, and there's a fear that grips you. That's not the kind of fear that I'm talking about. But it's that healthy fear, so that we're able to receive the wisdom that God is actually offering us. And the Word offers us so much wisdom in Proverbs, man. But if you don't have that fear, if you don't have that healthy reverence of who God is in your life, you're not going to want to receive it. Because Proverbs talks about in 5, it talks about the warning to a son to avoid a wayward woman. I'm just summing it up now.
Oh yeah.
About how she can undo you and your character, and how you don't want to be caught up into something like that. So and as we look at it now, there are a lot of men that are caught up because they can't stop looking at another woman.
You're right.
They can't resist some bouteilles that don't belong to them.
And that goes into some of the definition they may have received early as what a man is.
Yeah, just what I was about to say.
Go ahead, Jay.
That's what they've learned. As this is indicative of manhood or being a male. You got to always be skirt chasing and looking and lusting.
Because without that aspect of your manhood, then you're not really a man.
Right.
Exactly. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure whoever did that and it worked out for them.
I know. I haven't never seen it work out.
For this to keep on being perpetuated as a man requirement, but
Yeah.
I remember thinking for a long time, I guess I'm not no man because I'm not out here chasing no skirts like Jake said. And
Mm-hmm.
but you always had that pressure, especially when you single. You
Yeah.
know, a lot.
Yeah.
I remember guys I used to hang out with.
Yeah.
It was almost like an initiation from their dads and their uncles for
Yeah.
them to go sleep with a woman to prove that
Yeah.
there was a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so these guys were obsessed with finding somebody so they
Yeah.
could prove that I'm a man now.
Right. And end up damaged goods themselves as a result.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was watching. I think I shared this with you guys. I don't know. I shared it with somebody. I was
Mhm.
watching this cat one night, and he was having some type of men's only workshop. And he was pretty much telling the guys how he's not for sending a man out to find himself.
Mhm.
You know, when they turn 18, send them on to find themselves. And he said that's the worst damage you can do, because at
Really?
18, what do you know? What do you know? You are going to try to embrace everything that comes your way. So, i.e., college. He went on to say that for his children, he likes the community college. Keep them at home,
Okay.
and then when he can see that they're seasoned and that
Okay.
they are able to respond better to some of the issues or the pitfalls that come their way, then he will send them off to finish their bachelor's degree at a
Yeah.
4-year institution. But it's not until you can prove to me who you are now before I release you into a world that's ready to devour you, that's ready to say, go here,
Yeah.
go there. I mean, let's just face it. Jake, you weren't with us during this time though, but we were in college. I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but when we were looking to pledge and all that kind of stuff, we looked to the upperclassmen, upper class males,
Mhm.
as the defining role models in our lives. And
Wow.
they weren't telling us
Yeah, we
anything.
did. A lot of
That
ways we did.
they weren't telling us anything that was helping us.
Right.
That was going to benefit us 15, 20 years down the road. When
Mhm.
you're being encouraged, I mean, I'm just being real. You be encouraged because I would always say to the young people that the habits that you develop now are pretty much going to stick with you for the rest of your life.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. That
So
is true.
if I'm in college and I'm doing 4 years of the same stuff, drinking, it's
Yep.
Sunday, so I'm drinking, and I'm not coming at nobody that drinks. So I want to make that preference. But I'm just saying, if I'm getting sloppy drunk, because that's
Right.
the goal. That's the goal when we're in school. You get
Mhm.
Yeah.
sloppy drunk. You're waking up with this female, that female. How am
Mhm.
I supposed to be a faithful husband? How am I supposed to be a husband or a father that shows a temperament where I don't I don't go to the bottle when I get stressed or depressed? Because that's pretty much what kicks off the drinking in college. It's either to have fun, you get drunk, or you're stressed
Mhm.
out about your grades, or whether you're going to be able to financially afford staying in there, so you go to the bottle. So if we're being
Mhm.
taught those habits in school at a young, impressionable age, because the mind does not fully develop until 25, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. 25
So
for
Is that
males.
what
so
they say?
for males.
25?
Mhm.
Okay.
So with that being said, look at the damage that I'm about to carry into my quote unquote malehood, because that's the mentality that I have. And and again, me keeping it real, I lived with for a long time. My oldest son
Mhm.
could not understand that. I don't understand why you just don't have a beer in the
A what?
refrigerator. A beer
Oh, a beer. Oh,
in the
yeah.
refrigerator.
That's
It bothered
another misconception of manhood.
exactly. But here's the thing:
Exactly.
I'm that type of dad. I'm the type of guy where I'll go there with you. I'll let you ask me all the questions that you need. Just keep drilling down, and
Yeah.
I'll say, because I don't want a beer in there. And I'll wait till the next time. Okay, Dad, I don't understand. Most guys, when they watch sports, you love sports. Yes, I love sports.
Mhm.
Why don't you just crack up, invite your friends over, and y'all crack a beer and all that type of stuff? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then I begin to explain how I don't see the benefit of that. That's just me. That's what I
Okay.
came. That's what I came to the determination of. Because number one, we want to go back to who taught you how to be a man. One of the things I did learn was from my father, because my father was an alcoholic for at least about 13 years of my life. I mean, sloppy alcoholic, losing jobs, violent, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And so that's one of the things that I did learn, that I did not want to be that.
Okay.
So that's one of the main reasons why I don't touch alcohol to this day, because I know that I have addictive behaviors.
Yeah.
And I don't want my life to play out like I saw it play out for my dad. Now, I will say, thanks be to God, he put the liquor down before he left this earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say I'm proud of him. We finally had the best father-son relationship, and he began to impart into me wisdom. But let me tell you, my thought was, because when he stopped drinking, he went to Jesus.
Yeah.
And he would read the Bible. And I would walk around the house thinking, oh, you can go from being an alcoholic all passed out to now serving God.
You can't do no right.
Right.
It was an anger. It was an anger that I had. And that's the reason why I stepped on campus, and probably kind of bitter towards, you, Nate, and anybody that remotely live for God, because of, I got this father now that wasted all these years of my life of being an alcoholic, and we couldn't get nothing. I always had, used stuff and couldn't fashionably dress the way I wanted to dress because he couldn't keep a job. And now he wants Jesus.
Wow.
So that's why he got that's why I had so much pushback when you first met me, as far as trying to live for God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good. It had the opposite effect on you. It didn't draw you towards alcohol. It pushed you away from it.
Exactly.
So there was a lesson there, even in his demise.
Yeah.
Was, I think a lot of times, a lot of people see things happen in their families that are terrible, and it pushes them to do the opposite, so they don't experience those same fallouts.
Right.
So we can always extract a lesson, even in the midst of turmoil. I was going to say that, I'm thinking as we have this conversation, I'm thinking about young men, young fellas that are growing up, and they're not getting the greatest examples. I feel bad because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially if they don't have immediate examples, alternative examples to look at.
Yeah.
To see something better. If all the men around them are giving them terrible manly advice,
Right.
I feel bad because they don't know any better until they see better. When you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
But until you know better, you're going to do exactly what you think you should be doing. And what you think you should be doing is what's been modeled in front of you all of your 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you say to guys, that think the way they're behaving is the right way to go? But obviously we know better, having gone through some things and experienced the other side. Do you think it's like our job to reach out to young fellas and mentor them, or what do you think?
Absolutely, I do. And I working with, in the schools for, like Ray said, 17 years, I tried to do that every day, show them a different example than what they see, daily at home or whatever, as much as possible. And even that's always been like my burden and my passion to make sure young males, especially young Black males, are what they're supposed to be and what our origin says we should be, and not just this Western society or what America, all the different things that go on here.
Yeah.
That tells us, well, you should be this or you should be that, and it's too much when that's not even our origin. So I try to show them, no, we take care of our families. We work, and we're responsible. We love God. We have a what do you call it? Not hierarchy, but basically that, when you got God first, the Father, and all that under. So most of them just are not seeing that at home, and even to this day, my young cousins and just young men that I see in the streets and at church and in barbershops and stuff, you got to try to exemplify it. If you can't verbally talk to them and, tell them, you're going on down the wrong path, at least if they see it, that might open the door for you to talk to them like later on. So yeah, it's definitely our responsibility to get in there and redirect.
Yeah, redirect. And like you said, even if you can't spend time with the person one-on-one individually, you lead an exemplary life, or become what the Bible calls as a living epistle.
Yeah.
So people can read you, even though they may not be able to physically get to you.
Right.
They can see what
Yes.
this is what a man looks like. This is how a man behaves. This is how a man responds. And I know in my case, like I said earlier, I used to just watch people. I didn't always pull them to the side and say, let me holler at you about manhood.
Right.
I just watched, and I would internalize what I saw, and then try it at home. And if it worked, I keep watching that individual until I got to a position where I could, like I said, spend time with them, get to know them better. But I think that the key is because people are watching, especially if a young man is in a position where he's questioning whether or not the information he's getting is good information. Right. He's watching other older gentlemen around him, uncles, dads, people at church, whoever my case might be. He's watching those guys, and it's critical for us to be living a life that's going to at least inspire them to do greater things.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I like that, Jake. Exemplary.
Yeah.
That's the word of the day. Exemplary.
Yeah.
Okay. I know our time is winding, so I want to make sure I'm just jotting down a note.
Go ahead.
Because I'm gonna put together, because I definitely want to answer the question of who taught me how to be a man. I don't want to end this podcast without sharing specifically.
No, I'm glad you said, because that's where I was going to go to end this up. So
but before we go there, I love to bring the controversy.
Oh, here we go.
Got to bring the controversy. Stir the pot. Wouldn't be me if I didn't stir the pot. So are you saying, Jake? And are you fanfaring Nate, for what he said, by saying the only way you can be a man is knowing God? I mean, what if I don't know God? What if I don't?
Are you asking that of Jake?
I'm asking that of Jake, and I'm asking that of Jake's cheerleading committee, which is Nathan Hall. Go ahead.
No, definitely.
I'll defer to Jake. Then I got you.
Right. No,
Jake can pass it if you want to. Okay, go ahead.
That's not the only way, because there are plenty of men who are doing it without even knowing God. But that's the successful way to get the abundant life that's promised to us, and maybe it makes it easier. But
is that my dog? I don't have
okay. I'm like, who got a dog? But definitely knowing God set the plan. So without knowing God, you might get it right or wrong. So I would say knowing God is the ultimate way to do it and do it right.
Okay. So I was going to say, Ray, Jake just said it, is there's plenty of men out there who are doing a great job, who are not necessarily walking, with God. They may not know him altogether, or they might be in a different religion,
right?
Whatever the case might be. There's plenty of guys doing what needs to be done, taking care of their family, living a life that's wholesome, inspiring their children, all the stuff that all the characteristics that we think men should have. They're doing it, but they don't necessarily carry the banner of God. But what I will say is some of those characteristics and attributes, if you were to call them on them, you could go straight to, like you said, Proverbs, Ephesians. You can go to these places and identify exactly the things that they're doing that are helping them be tremendous, great men in the world that they live in.
That's good.
I don't want to say that the only way you can be a man is if you know God.
Right.
Yeah, like I don't like leather, pen leather shoes. I don't like gators.
Right.
I
don't want to have to wear the gators in the 3-piece suits. I don't want to do all that.
Right.
But, it's just like financial principles work whether you saved or not.
That's good.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? You can sow seeds, you can sow your tithes, and whatever you do, you can
Right.
save like the Bible tells you how to save. You can give like the Bible tells you how to give. Not
Yeah.
even care about God, but the laws that He put in place around these actions are always going to produce the result.
Yep. Yep. That's
That's
it.
good.
I think if men were to, we do the things that the laws have God has given us, they're going to produce that same harvest, whether you're a godly person or a non-godly person. I think
That's true.
like you said, Jake, was there's a bonus and a benefit
Hmm.
outside just saying that you're a good man. It's knowing
Yeah.
that the state of your soul and your relationship with the Creator is in a position to where after you're done being a man and you leave this
Right.
earth, your eternal treasure
That's it.
you continue to tap into even more treasure because you have a home with God. But
Right.
yeah, that's a good question, Ray. That's a good question. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
So, are you gonna go ahead and share who taught you how to be a man?
Yeah. So I'll say I have a I don't know if it's a trifecta, three, 3-in-1, and I'll break it down like this. I'll
Mhm.
say my dad taught me how to be a man of recovery
Okay.
because we don't always nail it as men.
All right.
And with that being said, is I was able to sit back and watch a man at his lowest point
Mm.
to the gutter of losing everything.
Wow.
Give it over to God and see life just totally transform before my very eyes. So I learned through watching him um, that you have until the end. You can never get too low, and God will never step in. No, He will step in, no matter how low you get. So that's what I
Mhm.
learned. I think that was an important lesson right there that shaped my manhood.
That's
Um,
really good.
what I learned from my brother. My brother was like my best friend. He passed of Hodgkin's cancer right before I met you, Jake. Um,
Okay.
yep, he passed like in 92.
Wow.
That
I
guy
remember
there,
that.
he would just, what I learned from him was big picture. Think
Mm.
outside the box. You're not going to
Mhm.
always be living on the east side. You're not going to always, um, everything that's in your possession is not going to always just be tangible right in front of you. If you want more, you have to reach for
Mm.
more. You have to prepare yourself for more.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
that's what
good.
he would, and when I would fail, or if I would do something stupid, skipping school or hanging out with some friends that I had no business hanging out with, he would
Mhm.
sit me on the bed and grill me. He loved me enough that he would let me know that you need to fear me, meaning him, more than you fear the drug dealers out there. Because if
That's
I ever
good.
catch you doing something that you have no business doing, I'm gonna kick your butt myself.
Mm.
I love that.
What's up?
So that's what I learned from him. Big picture, my
Mhm.
dad, recovery,
Mhm.
and Pastor Reginald Lane. I met
Oh
him.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I met him at a very vulnerable time in my life. I was 21 years old. I had given my life. I had only been saved for 1 year, so I knew how. I was learning how to be a natural guy, a natural man growing up for 20 years, and now here it is. I've given my life to the Lord. How do I learn how to be this, the spiritual guy or dude or giant in the
Mm.
things or the affairs of the Lord? Pastor Lane just said it plain, man. He taught me how to worship. And when I learned how to worship, because that's a lifestyle, um, that unlocked everything else.
Mm.
Being okay to be vulnerable, make mistakes, cry out to the Lord and ask for forgiveness. It taught me how to be bold and stand on what I know that I know that I know. It
Mhm.
taught me how to move in authority in life, just by watching him, just by sitting at his knee, having
Mm.
conversations with him. So those three guys, my dad, my brother, and Pastor Lane, um, I credit them for who I am today.
That's
But
good.
the sad thing about it, fellas, is all those three guys are no longer in my life today.
Right.
They've all passed on,
Right.
and so now, now I stand because I'm forever a student. I don't think you should ever stop learning.
Mhm.
Now I sit and I wonder, okay, who will be the next Master Yoda for me?
Right.
Because there's still so much more that I need to know how to be a man on this side of 50.
Wow.
As my new life begins to unfold, as I'm a dad, with young adults, and
Yeah.
because pretty much all my kids are young adults, two in college and one about to graduate, go to the Navy. So I want to make sure that I'm able to parent them still
Yeah. Yeah.
the right way, and that comes from gleaning from other giants who have done it or who are doing it.
Right.
Oh, it's so true.
That's good.
So true, man.
That's good. So, Jake, are you willing to share? Excuse me. Are you willing to share? Oh man, excuse me. Who taught you how to be a man?
Man, I had a whole conglomerate because, well, growing up like me, oh man, I felt like I had strikes against me growing up, and as far as strikes against my manhood, because I had insecurities. I had to wear thick glasses as a kid, and that made me go into a shell and not want to be seen, and I felt unattractive and all of that. So, and on top of that, I'm a creative and a constructive, art and music and all that kind of person. So I think I had it hard. I had wonderful examples of manhood in my life, growing up. My dad, of course, my pastor, which I grew up under as a child, my grandfather, my my uncles. Well, I had three uncles, and I had, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8 aunts. So so all the things that I was about in as a child in the 70s, none of them said man, man. None of them, because I'm a creative. So I felt like I really had to try to be something or somebody else other than, who and what I was. Because if I had money for each time I heard, well, a boy doesn't do that or a man doesn't do that, I would be rich. Definitely.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, because as a kid, I wanted to be photographer. I wanted to be arts and clothes, design clothes and all that kind of stuff. Because that's what I did. I got drawings from when I was in grade school of stuff I wanted to do, and everybody was, oh, there's no money in art, and there's no
that money
this or
thing.
that.
That's
Right,
it.
right.
That's it.
Right, and then the other thing, that goes along with that kind of career. So I'm like, well, man, what? So I listened to all these other people, but as far as manhood itself, my dad was an awesome example, because he was a stern, just strict disciplinarian. So on top of being a perfectionist, so he made sure I had to do my I's were dotted, my T's were crossed, all of that. And my pastor, he was just, man, you rarely find pastors like that generation, because when I was a kid, he was like in his 70s.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he was really, it was such a reverence. I remember even as a kid having such a reverence for him and a fear, because he was such a holy man. And I'm like, wow. I mean, the way he could just look at you and talk to you,
Yeah.
He had an aura about him, a holy aura about him. And I remember that growing up as a kid. My dad was like his right hand man, first deacon and all that. So I grew up with all that.
Yeah.
Very good marriages, examples. My grandfather loved my grandmother, and my dad loved my mom. So I saw all of that. And then I saw the other side too with certain other members of the family. Excuse me. All the way down to alcoholism, all the way up to, the perfect father and husband. So I learned a lot of what to do and what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the womanizer, I've seen the wife, the spousal abuse. I mean, just different men, that were around when I was growing up. So, and actually I didn't physically see that, but later on I heard about it and knew and realized, oh, that was happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so it was a whole conglomerate of men and even some women that basically taught me how to be a man. Because I remember a teacher, and something simple as chewing gum. My second grade teacher, I was in at the lunch table, just chomping away on this gum, mouth open and everything. And she said, a young man don't chew gum like that. And I never forgot that. I never forgot it. And it stuck with me. So I changed how I chew gum from then on. So
you want him to say, well, show me how you chew it then. I'm sure.
That's Ray for sure. Ray did that.
Yeah, I bet he was. Right. She basically did. She was like, you chew with your mouth closed or whatever. And I'm like, okay.
Well, yeah, that's good. That's good manners. I don't know if that's like a manly attribute, but if it works for you, that's good. It inspires you. It inspires you to do better.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll close it out. Unfortunately, I learned a lot early about what not to do. Because I saw. So go ahead.
I got to bring up another point that Ray mentioned earlier. When we think of man, a lot of times we immediately go to sports, and that's a big one. And especially that's personal for me because every man's supposed to love sports.
You're right.
Run off all the statistics of all the players.
Yeah.
Going left and right, going backwards and forwards.
Right. You got to argue about.
I get on that one all the time. I used to be that guy about basketball, but now I'm just like, whatever.
You're right. You know what, Jake? Now I think about it seriously.
Yeah.
When you used to come hang out with us.
Yeah.
You didn't get into pickup games.
No.
You would just stand off to the side, and we would because we played ball like.
Yeah.
We played ball like it was crazy. I mean, it was no tomorrow.
Right.
Should have been studying. We was playing ball faithfully.
Right.
You did.
All day.
You didn't, but that didn't affect how we viewed you.
I wasn't impressed. I got to go out there and prove myself.
Right.
It wasn't like that. I was like, whatever, man.
It was twofold. It was partially because of eyesight, but then none of the men in my family were like sports heads like that either.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't. My grandfather, my uncles, they may have watched the game, but it wasn't like, oh, we got to watch this game.
Gotcha.
Right.
So I didn't grow up with that. So, but as an adult, I had to learn. Okay, I met a lot of strong men who don't like sports. So
there's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with it.
Right.
Yeah, I had to learn that because sometimes I sit in the room feeling uncomfortable because I wasn't the one kicking the latest LeBron stats.
Right.
I'm like, I didn't watch it. I'm not following it. I don't know. You know,
And
if
I
you had
grew up.
caught me 20 years ago, I would be able to hang with you. But over time, I just stopped. I don't really care about it like that.
Yeah.
But like I was saying though, before we wrap it up, who taught me how to be a man? I got to give a shout out to the brothers of Commission.
Oh man.
You know, their message
Yeah.
steered me in a lot of good directions.
It's good, dude.
And it stopped me from doing a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have done.
Man.
I probably would have done had it not been for their example and their message.
They sung the word.
They sung the word, and their ministry convicted me to try to be as holy as I could. I didn't always make it, but I tried. Like I said, I really didn't start paying attention to male figures until I got in my 20s. And so I got to give a real shout out to, I give a shout out to my pastor, original pastor, Pastor Washington from Detroit, Apostle V.B. Washington. He took me under his wing, and he did instill a lot of good wisdom in me. I just didn't learn to appreciate it until later. Ron Daniels, who was a young man. Remember Ron?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Ron Daniels helped me stay on the straight and narrow in terms of my walk with God. He was always talking the word, always encouraging. And since he was like 19, 20, when I was like 15, 16, you know, he was more relatable. And I saw him just always having victory.
Wow.
And so it let me know it was possible. If I really made up my mind, it was possible to be a good man of God if I wanted to be.
That's
and
good.
then you know, guys later on in my life that you guys probably don't know. You know,
you guys living waters.
Living water. That's another show.
Woo,
Living Word Outreach Church. Those gentlemen at that church really showed me the way. Sorry, dogs. What am I gonna do?
Right.
Put him out, man. I'm sorry. Just joking. I love the animals.
I wish I could.
Yeah, you better fix that.
So it was. I can't do nothing about them dogs, man. They are my daughter's dogs, and they like. Anyway. Right. So I learned on the fly, man, and I learned as I got older. Hold on, sorry, it's embarrassing.
My goodness.
Right, you gotta handle that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Man, that's funny you mentioned Commission, because they were true. For me, they were like true examples of godly men.
Yeah.
Especially in the music industry.
Though we didn't know, you know, them up close and personal. Are you back, Nate?
Right.
Your time. So we know we got a time out.
Yeah. Oh,
He's still yapping? You still yapping? Okay. So we yeah, though we didn't know them up close and personal. I mean, I had a little snapshot because of the church that I attended. And they were floating in and out through there, but we didn't hang with them to know their lifestyle. But yeah, I agree with you, man. The more, I think the one I got to know the most was Mitchell Jones. And I'm telling you, the dude just really sang, lived what he's saying, you know.
You can see it.
You can see it. And I would always, you know, hope that he would talk something different. But there's a passage in Deuteronomy that talks about when they're about to cross over into the promised land, about how, you know, Moses telling them to remember that the Lord and the Lord alone is our God, and how they need to remember their testimony and how they need to teach the word, you know, teach it. That's how, and that's what, you know, talk about it. Talk about it when you're at rest. Talk about it in your house. Talk about it at work. And that's what Mitchell Jones displayed.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, man, those brothers. Yeah, Mitch. I remember, and I won't keep the point long. I remember at Dunamis, first time I ever went. It's so memorable because Mitchell Jones, for some reason, you know, I was starstruck because it was Mitch, Carl.
All of them.
I don't know if Fred was there, but it was another one of the guys there. And he came to me. He had on this smooth suit, and he took his Mitchell finger and pointed me dead in my chest 3 times. Pow, pow, pow. He said, "You as a man of God, you can be a man of God. You can be a man of God. You can do this."
Always encourage.
He said, "Don't ever let anybody tell you no different. You a man of God." And he punched me in my chest every time. Every time he did, he said, in the chest. He got me in that chest. And man,
did he know you?
He did not know me.
Why did he walk up to you think?
I don't know.
Because he saw an opportunity, man, that you were a younger person, and it was his role as the elder in your life. Man, that's when we say earlier, somebody answered that question between you or Jake. Now, I don't remember. Is that our responsibility now? We should be doing the Mitchell Point, popping people in their chest.
Showing
them who they are now.
Wow.
Seriously.
Wow. That's good because it left a lasting impact.
Right.
Exactly.
Not because it was Mitch, but because of what he said.
Because you could have easily been like, hey, bro, don't take all that. But I think, I think that's the concern now, that we're afraid of how we'll be received. Man, I don't want to belabor the time, but there was one time in my prayer time with the Lord, and he asked me, the Holy Spirit was just saying, Ray, are you willing to, for my sake, be uncomfortable, be talked about, be an outcast? And this is because of, since my divorce, of going on. So a lot of times I want to quit, man. I want to quit and just go sit in the back pew somewhere. But, because of, my, my different, I don't know, transition now in life. A lot of people want to say, you're counted out, you're done, you had your run, you got to go sit down somewhere. But it's not about me. It's about saying what only God has for me to say when he says say it. And though people may look at the fact of, what didn't work in my life and what life may look like, or all their questions are wondering, how did that happen if you're a man of God? Hey, you can't worry about what it looks like, people, man. You can't worry about what they say to you, how they respond to you. Your job is like what Mitch did. Go over to you, a young man, and say, you can be a man of God, whether you receive it from him or not. Whether he is not the most cool or popular looking dude in your space and time, Nate, back then. What it all boils down to, this word, carrying this word, being responsible, handling this word, has nothing to do with us, but has everything to do with the God that is driving us.
Amen.
Amen. On that note, I think we did a pretty good job here, fellas, broaching the subject of who taught you how to be a man. And those of you who might watch this by replay, we want you to answer that question. Who taught you?
Right.
As a man, who instilled these things in you? Did they do a good job? Did you get examples from family, or did you have to go outside your family to get good examples? We want to have this conversation beyond, tonight's broadcast. So please drop in the comments your thoughts, your commentary. If you want to catch the broadcast or the podcast, here's the link right here, Anchor FM, Knowledge and Power. Write that down. We'll leave it in the description below so you can click on it directly. We're on iTunes, iHeart Radio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all the whole 9 yards. So you can find us on those venues. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time. And as usual, when we end, we got to get the wisdom nuggets from either Ray or Jake. Who has the wisdom nugget?
Okay. This is real talk.
All right, let's hear it.
Never try to moonwalk on the sun because you'll get burned.
You go here.
Hey, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Never moonwalk on the sun because you might get burnt.
That's right.
Is a message. Know your role. Know your place.
Yeah,
bruh. Don't go outside your lane.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, that's awesome. Right. That's pretty good.
Okay.
All right, guys. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll be back next week unless God says otherwise, with another wonderful topic about whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about next week, but it'll be something fun. So as usual, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Jake and Ray, for coming on.
Would it be too commercial if we catered it towards something holiday-ish or whatever?
I mean, whatever.
Maybe we can talk about the most memorable, most impactful Christmas that you ever had.
Oh, I got one. So for that,
Yeah, I got one too.
Okay, we can do that then. There's our topic.
Yeah,
the most impactful Christmas in your memory.
Yeah,
we can talk about that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. We'll see you next time. Have
All
a good
right,
night, guys.
All right.
Be safe.
Bye
Bye-bye.
All right.